Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Wanted to take some time out and give you guys all a quick training on making presentations really fast. This is going to be the best 20 minutes of your life from a training perspective. You're going to learn a ton. And based on my 20 years of experience, I'm put it all down into literally 20 minutes. So let's jump right into it. Simple question. Do you want to be successful? And if you do, this is the training for you. All of us have to communicate. It doesn't matter where we are in our journey in life. It doesn't matter if we're a techie, a creative, whatever field, we have to communicate. Think about how you may have made the best car engine ever. But if the car looks crappy, then it's not going to go anywhere. So the way to think about it is that you could be doing amazing work, but if you can't communicate that to your colleagues, you can't communicate that to clients, you're not going to go anywhere. And also, don't think about this in terms of, oh, I have 5 years of experience, I have 10 years of experience. It doesn't matter where you are on your journey. You could be right out of college, or a person like me who's got 20 years of experience. All of us have to continue to up our game on the communication front. So here's what my ask. Turn off Microsoft Outlook, turn off your email, turn your phone off, turn it upside down. Give me your undivided attention for 20 minutes, and trust me, I'm going to change your life. So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give you a little bit of a tabletop exercise, right? Wherever you're sitting, right? I want you to find a blank piece of paper. On the left half, I want you to describe a presentation that you're about to give, a week out, 2 weeks out. It could be to a client, it could be to an internal stakeholder. You could even make it up. It could be about an idea you have and you're thinking about presenting it. Just take 30 seconds and describe your presentation on the left half of the paper, and keep the right half blank. We're going to come back to it at the end of the quick training here. All right, so I'm going to jump into the presentation now, the training. So every presentation you give has to have a hook. My hook here was that I was going to help you be successful. My hook, another aspect of the hook was, I said this is going to be the best 20 minutes of training that you've ever taken. So think about the presentation you're giving and what is the hook going to be? Sometimes, it's day-to-day stuff, but just continue to think about it. That why is the person that's listening to you interested in what you're saying? And this is a theme that I'm going to touch upon a few times. And it's about knowing your audience. I used to, and I still do, think that I have all of these great ideas. And what I used to do was I used to want to get all of these ideas out. I used to want to share all of those ideas. Let me say something very abrupt to you and to myself. Nobody cares about all the ideas in your head. Nobody cares about all the ideas in my head. They only care about themselves. Everybody lives busy lives. So you really have to focus on the most important things, and you have to really understand it from their perspective, right? Why are they interested in what you're talking about? It's not about you. It's not about your ideas. It's about who your audience is and what they are interested in. So you have to continuously think about that when you create your presentation, when you create the voiceover and you create the message, that who is the audience and what are they interested in and what do they care about? And then how do you keep it simple? Back to the theme that I've got hundreds of ideas about whatever I'm presenting, but how do you focus on keeping it really simple and the most important things? And then how do you tell a story? People are interested in a story. Story makes meaning. It crafts, like an interest. And so think about the story that you're going to tell in your presentation. And then I crafted this rule at the tail end of my Bank of America job. And we give all of these little presentations, these little updates, and sometimes we make them overwhelming. So I made up this rule called 3 slides in 3 minutes. 90% of your presentations should follow this rule, right? And it doesn't have to be literal. It can be 4 slides. It can be 4 minutes, but keep it really short. Think about those half-an-hour meetings that you have. You don't need to have 20 slides in those meetings. You don't need to have 10 slides in those meetings. You can cover the content in 3 slides in 3 minutes. If the audience is interested in more dialogue, they'll ask questions and you can give them more detail. And you can always have things in the appendix, and we'll talk about that a little later. So Brian Moynihan is the CEO of Bank of America. So I made this rule up and I gave it the Brian Moynihan rule name, right? It can be anyone. It can be anyone senior in your world. Just think about if they ask you the simple question, tell me about your idea. We use the example of you run into them in the elevator and they ask you something. You just have a few minutes to tell them about your idea. What are the key aspects of your idea that you're going to get out? Not all the details, just the key aspects. And the way to think about it is you have slide number 1, which is context, right? You always know where you are. Your audience doesn't. So get them situated on the context that your area is this, but just, hey, what is the overall area that you're in and why this is important, right? What is the context? Number 2 is unveil the next layer. And then 3 is unveil the next layer. Remember, 3 minutes. Focus on breadth, right? The breadth of the problem, not the depth. Don't go deep, right? You have to abstract it. You have to summarize it. And many times people will tell me that, oh, it's tough to summarize, etc. No, it's not tough to summarize. People can take crazy scientific articles that are so detailed and long, and they can create a simple article in a newspaper about that. You can summarize anything. It's just a matter of creative energy and focus to do it, right? And here's the best part, right? When you're doing all of this hard work, you're going to have a lot of details. Nobody's saying don't make more than 3 slides. You sometimes have to make all of these crazy slides, and then you have to summarize. So take those amazing slides that you did, put them in the appendix. And if the audience has questions, you can point them to the appendix. Because what you're doing is you're judging if the audience is interested in the details. A lot of times they're not interested in the details, so you stay away. Many times when they are interested in the details, all you have to do is you can show the slide as an example here, and you can say details in appendix. So you see this little box in the back, it's got crazy details. We didn't want to show the client these details, so we just simply said, hey, details in appendix. If the client is interested, then the person can ask and we can go to the appendix, or you send them the deck and they can always go offline, or you haven't wasted their time. So this is a very handy symbol to show where you can put the details. And then continuing on the theme on keeping it simple, don't jam in content, right? This is what I was guilty of, right? I used to basically spend all my energy trying to put everything on a piece of paper because I had all of these great ideas. No, I changed that. And this is where, white space is your friend. Just simple, boom, 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 right? You don't have to cramp everything, right? All right, in summary, just when you are presenting to people, right? Tell them what you're going to tell them, which is the agenda. That can be the extra slide, right? And tell them. So slides 1, 2, and 3. And then when you're finishing up, you can just summarize. Take a lot of notes along the way, highlight the key points. Sometimes I'll take a lot of notes and I will highlight the top 5, 6 points with a star. So at the end of the meeting, I just look at all the items that have a star next to it and I quickly summarize, hey, here are the takeaways, boom. And now this is the best part, right? How you can do this really, really fast. You can just steal. That's all you have to do. You can steal from all the slides that I'm about to show you. 70, 80, 90% of the slides, you can just come here, copy and paste the slide, and you're ready to go. And it's all around visualizing. And we talk a lot about value, and you're visualizing the value, right? So first, always start with a simple agenda slide. I'm here to talk about 3 topics, boom, 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 right? Then never, 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 never use bullets, right? Bullets are bad. Bullets are evil, right? Never use bullets. Just think about it, right? On each slide, you're just trying to convey a simple 5 points. So all you have to do is take the 5 points you want to convey in a slide. Instead of listing via bullets, put each point into a box. right? You have all of these thoughts, bullet, 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 bullet. Summarize it into 5 key points and take those 5 bullets and just put them into boxes. That's it. It's so easy. And look at the difference between this slide and a list of bullets. You're giving people a completely different experience, and you're visualizing in a very, very simple, quick way your ideas. And sometimes you can add layers, right? Where you can basically create titles. Sorry about that. You can create titles, and you can add a little bit of gray at the bottom. So people that are interested in the details can read the details. And again, back to the point earlier, sometimes you have a thought that's longer. So you put that big thought into the box, and then you create a summary title from there. So it makes it really, really easy. You can list boxes from left to right. So you can have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can put details below each one to show the layers. So it's all up to you on whatever you're trying to convey, how you can use boxes instead of bullets, and you can convey all these ideas. If you want to go the extra mile, use icons, right? You're trying to convey 5 points, put 5 icons next to it, and you give, again, a completely different experience. Big shout out to Wally, who helped me basically create some of these slides where in the appendix, we have a bunch of icons. You can go to the Noun project. You can go to fonts.google.com, and I've got these links embedded in the presentation, and you can get icons from here. So some of this is not that hard. You're like, oh my God, how do I create icons? No, you don't have to create icons. You can just steal. And then many, many times, whether it's internally or externally with clients, we have to give status, right? So some of these status reports can be really, really detailed. All you have to do is basically show simple status. What are the accomplishments? We did these 3 things. These 3 things are in flight. These 3 things are the next steps. Icons, boxes, boom, 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 you're good to go. And every now and then we have to give a detailed status, right? Where people are really, really interested in the details. So then you can use a framework like this. You can say, hey, we've got 6 work streams. You can put a status next to it. You can put Harvey balls to show progress. You can show trend, and you can show a little bit of content. And this is, a framework from, almost 10 years ago that I've tried to simplify it further. Even this is too much content. How do you simplify it further? We live in an attention span challenge world. So the key is to kind of get this out really, really fast. I give Hassan a lot of credit to create this slide, right? Where we have a simple timeline slide. That what does the timeline for this project look like? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 work streams. Here's what we're trying to do. Here are the simple weeks. Boom, boom, boom. Done. You could make it monthly if you have to make it monthly. You can make it quarterly, whatever time frame you're looking at. Simple timeline. And then here's a neat little trick. Sometimes the immediate future, you can give it more space. So if you look at it, this is just 1 month, and look at how much space it has. 1 month, how much space it has. This is 3 months, and it doesn't have that much space. Same thing here, because we can see the immediate future a bit more, and it can be more granular. Over here, it's less granular. So that's another way to convey your ideas, a bit more meat on the bones initially, and then later on, less granularity. Then we love our roadmaps, right? We're always trying to do something, whether our project for clients, etc. So you want to show them, hey, we're doing these 3 things, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And these are called chevrons. This box, the shape of it is called a chevron. 1, 2, 3 phase, title the phase, put some details around it, and you give an idea of people of what you're trying to do. When you're launching a project, when you're sharing an update, you can easily visualize, a roadmap. A lot of times you want to just show people an organization, right? Very simple. Who's the leader? Who are the different people? Boom, you have an organizational chart. I think Hasib and team created this, which was, visualizing the business outcomes, right? How do you there's a lot of facilities within PowerPoint that you can create this very quickly. And you can just say, hey, I want to portray these 3 ideas, improving cash flow, dashboards, insights, adjust policies. Just visualize whatever the 3 points you're trying to make and put 3 simple icons. And then many, many times, we're doing this option analysis, right? Where we're trying to figure out option 1 versus option 2 versus option 3 versus option 4. What are the pros for those options? What are the cons for those options. What you're trying to analyze, hey, we can take this path, this path, this path, or this path. Here's the advantages. Here are the disadvantages, the pros, the cons, advantages, disadvantages. Simple arrows to show pros, simple arrow to show cons. And then you can show the recommendation at the bottom. We do this all the time for different ideas, for different projects. So this is a very simple way to show the analysis and to show the recommended course of action. So steal from here. And then if you have a message that's a bit more complicated, why wouldn't you just visualize it? So from the process world, any process basically has an input and it has a supplier. So supplier provides the input to the process provides an output, and that's the customer. And the process may have multiple steps in between it. This is sometimes a little bit of a complicated idea, but because we've visualized it here, it's very easy to convey. We've taken different shapes, different meanings. And so if information is worth sharing, isn't it worth designing? Why can't you visualize it? Why can't you design it? And then many times you have to show a double click into something. So we have a 4-phased approach, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the full context. Hey, let's talk about analyze. We're in this phase, boom, boom, boom. You can use these little call outs over here to do this. In the next page, you could double click into this. In the page after that, you could double click into this. So this is just a way to show the context, the call outs and the double clicks, and you can kind of get into it. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with is, we live in a data-driven world, right? If you think about on the personal front, whether it's our addiction to TikTok or YouTube, it's constantly data that's forcing the feed. You think about the world of driverless cars, it's all driven off of the data of driving cars without a person, because the car knows what to do. So when we live in this data world, we have to show these trends. Here's a graph that tells me absolutely nothing. And the key is when we're looking at the data that we're looking at, how do we make it show the insights? And that's our job, right? And you don't have to be a data scientist to do this. So the same graph, if you played around with it, you could show the difference. That, hey, the trends were okay. Then suddenly something happened. And we had a spike and cases started changing. So it's the same data, but you can use it to show it differently. Like almost never use pie charts. Pie charts are just bad. So how do you visualize the insights in a really, really good way? And one of these days we'll do a training on data storytelling, and we can really, really double click into how to tell stories through data, etc. And I'll send this deck to you. It's basically visualizing ideas. We also have the declaration template, which has all of these slides. Just pin it. If you pin it to PowerPoint, it will always be there. It's always handy. And you can always access it very, very quickly. Now, let's take a minute to look at what you started with in terms of whatever you were going to present. And what I want you all to do is now do an after. What is the title of your presentation going to be? And we didn't talk about this, but the title has to be something fun, something unique, something attractive. I call this making presentations fast. So what is the title of your presentation going to be? Who's the audience going to be? What's the hook? Now list out the story. And I'll let you kind of fill this out and give you a little bit of a voiceover, which is, when you're developing presentations, it's a very iterative process. That as you are coming up with your ideas, you're putting them on paper, you're moving stuff around. And that's the beauty of PowerPoint. You can move stuff around very easily. You can steal from another deck, and bring it in. And that's what these templates are, right? These were the best slides that we had used. So I picked the best 10, 15 slides and put them in one place. I have so many more. but this is, where you start, and this is where it's really, really easy. So we'll give you 30 seconds to wrap this up. And if you want to spend more time offline, you can. And, if, by the way, just one last thought, I guess, is that send me what you've done here. Take a picture, send it to me. Send me your presentation, the one you're going to do in 2 weeks. Share what you're doing. And don't worry if you think it's bad. Trust me, I will never have an issue with a bad presentation. I'll help you through it. There's so many of your colleagues that over the last month, I've been a bit more involved. I'm helping them with each one of their presentations. And now they're empowered that the next presentation is going to be better. The presentation after that's going to be better. So, feel free to send me your work and happy to look at it. Just Microsoft Teams message me.